Hello and welcome to Procrastination Station. This is a show about sustainable creativity and self-sabotage. I'm your host, Hannah, and I'm a multi-passionate creative with lots of feelings, too much compassion, and a splash of sass. I believe everyone self-sabotages from time to time, sometimes even unaware that they're holding themselves back. I want to know how our setbacks can become our superpowers and how we can grow through our downfalls to find gifts within us to bridge the gap for people to fill the spaces where we lack. In other words, how can we invite all parts of ourselves to come along for the journey? Self awareness is the first step. I believe we make change by reflecting on our values and perpetuating our values to our community. I get in touch with my values through creative practices, and I use the show to share those values with you by encouraging you to be more creative more often. Throughout the show, you will hear my pseudo intellectual business opinions, superpowers and setbacks to perceived flaws, and creative strife and victory. Please keep listening, and I hope you enjoy today's topic. Hello, fellows. With today's episode, I want to tell you about where I'm at. Now, I have a series that's going on at the moment about how to start a podcast that is still going on. We were due for another episode this week. However, I wanted to talk about this. This is pretty relevant for me right now. So I will double up the next 2 weeks and then go back to our regular scheduled programming. But for now, this is what I want to talk about. This is what's on my mind. I want to offer you a trigger warning as we will be discussing self-harm. However, if this is something you struggle with, I'd like to offer you to stay because I want to tell you how I healed that wound within my heart. Today's topic is not guided by subtopics. We will be discussing my plans for this show, what I find interesting about myself, and what I've learned about myself. It's really just kind of a, hey, nice to meet you. Now to get into things. I started this show to talk about entrepreneurship, how it's a creative practice, and the self-development involved with starting a venture in order to maintain sustainable creative flow. I'm anticipating a lot of changes to go on around here, and I don't want to be the type of show that announces every little change I make. When you share this platform with me, you get to experience my growth and evolution alongside me, and I think that is so special. That also means I have a unique opportunity to document my growth and my process. I just feel that announcing every little change is like dwelling in the energy I had before making the change, and also seeking validation that this hypothetical change was the right move. The reason I'm telling you I'm anticipating a lot of changes is because I'm not sure what they are yet, and I'm a lovely mix of nervous and excited, and those are two parallel and opposite emotions. I'm releasing this episode really in an effort to cryptically vent to you. Honestly, that's typically what I do anyway. In every episode I release, I'm effectively talking to myself and sharing the lessons that I wish I had learned sooner, and also working out lessons that I'm currently learning right now. I'm involved in some entrepreneurial projects, and I don't feel I have the vernacular to tell you about yet, as I'm still in the process of learning. But I do hope to share more details about my entrepreneurial journey in the coming months. Before I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a creative. I love to paint, but I'm even more creative than that. I'm a creative in all opportunities life has to offer me. I'm creative when I'm struggling financially. I'm creative when I'm struggling emotionally. I'm creative when it comes to bringing more fun into my relationships. I aim to use every day to be creative. Creativity is that place of joy and innocence within us that allows us to wipe the slate clean, build something up, tweak our perspective angle, and destroy again in order to rebuild. Creativity is the essence that allows all angles of the problem to be seen in order to discern a third-party solution. Creativity is a parallel to curiosity by asking what if, shifting away from what if it all goes wrong and into what if it all goes right. What if I have everything it takes to turn this around? What if I know what's best for me? What if I'm exactly strong enough to handle this with grace? What if I'm exactly where I need to be? I'm an interesting lass. When I was a kid, I was extremely smart. Like, they offered me to skip grades on 2 separate occasions. And as much as I'm smart, and I'm still smart, I'm also extremely sensitive. At both instances where my grades brought me higher responsibility, I was not at par with my peers on an emotional or social level. So the decision, which at the time was left up to my parents, was to keep me where I was while I continued to develop alongside my peers that are my own age. I threw myself into books, into writing, into math and science because that's what made sense to me. I wonder if little me knew that although I was nice to everybody, I didn't need to cement my relationships with the people I engaged with at school as they were just temporary. My academic smarts mixed with my high sensitivity has made me a smooth talker. I've always been able to talk with legitimately anyone by giving them a feeling of understanding, whether or not I allow them to understand my own realm of existence. I've also had severe cluster migraines since I was an infant, and I quickly adapted to understanding how to pull at people's heartstrings to get the support I needed. As we all know, with great power comes great responsibility. I can't always seek extensions on life, and I need to know how to maintain my pace. Then there's the problem with finishing what I start. In my area, there's elementary school, then high school, then post secondary. In my final year of each, I started experiencing bullying and social conflict. And honestly, it was never as brutal for me as it was for my friends. I've always been able to find drama within my direct orbit, but it was rarely directed at me. That being said, the social conflict significantly impacted both my attendance and my ability to maintain the same level of academia as in my younger years. In my final semester of elementary school, they wanted to hold me back for a year, not for my grades, but for my attendance. And the same thing happened in high school. I slipped from being an honors student in the final moments that actually counted towards post secondary, and I didn't even return to get my report card or to go to commencement. And the same thing happened in my final semester of college. I started slipping and ended up withdrawing with a lesser diploma than what I sought out for. In my final semesters, without fail, I always started to slip, and I have no idea why this is, other than a pressure to finish what I start. In my adulthood, I can say this pressure to finish what I start hasn't gone away, but it has evolved. I'm capable now with the gift of foresight to determine before starting a project if I can, in fact, see things through till the end. I've been tending to my business for the past 3, almost 4 years, and I've learned to adopt a one at a time method to ensure I'm not just starting what feels new and exciting, but also planning ahead with full intention of seeing things through to the end. That doesn't mean I never put things down before I'm finished, but it does mean that now I have the tools to inventory my life and see how things can either create progress for me or are draining and therefore hindering my long term growth. I'm now at a place where I can trust myself to only give up when I've given everything my everything. My life has handed me ease with things that others find extremely challenging. To not struggle with my grades when I'm half trying and half present. It's also handed me challenges with things that seem to come very easily to others. To not fully grasp the ability to develop and keep long-standing, healthy, happy, fulfilling reciprocal relationships. I learned something about myself recently. When I was a teenager, I struggled with self harm. Fortunately, I outgrew this behavior, and for that, I'm so, so grateful. I wish I could say the urges have gone away completely 10 years later, and I'm not telling you this to feel bad for me. I'm telling you this because I feel I've finally understood the narrative that's taking place. In the past, when I felt that urge, I'd say to myself, stop it, we don't do that anymore. Always kind, but suppressing nonetheless. And if you know anything about me, you know I have many thoughts on the consequences of suppressing. In a sudden epiphany, I realized instead of trying to convince the part of my psyche that it's wrong for still craving this coping mechanism, I've started asking myself, why is this what you want? What is going on? And I've noticed a pattern in my answer. No matter what my long winded reasoning is, it always boils down to one simple thing: feeling misunderstood. And now that I know the root of this feeling, I can start to seek more understanding. And this can be so challenging. This can mean speaking up about feelings that you don't fully understand yourself. But the beauty here is that you can share with people in the misunderstandings of life that it's okay to be misunderstood, and that if you don't fully understand a problem, then you can relate to people in the fact that none of us fully understand these problems. Listen, I like to talk about things on this show that I'm not an expert on. I'm only an expert in my own experiences, and even so, I can't say for certain memories don't get distorted over time. If I am an expert in anything, it's the way that I feel about my experiences. I want this show to be a gateway for healing, but perhaps not the way that you are sold healing. I want you to understand that not a single thing about you needs to change in order for you to be worthy of love. You are so worthy. You have always been worthy, and you always will be worthy. Always. The type of healing I'm talking about isn't the pseudopsychology type that happens in the brain and is typically preached by your neighborhood coach. The type of healing I want is to understand these mechanisms in my heart, to feel them, to nurture old wounds that led me to believe that I'm not allowed to make mistakes, or I can't say no, or I have to be the best, or change is scary, and a whole litany of other narratives that we tell ourselves. I want to feel these beliefs in my heart so I can make an honest, conscious choice if they still serve me. I don't want you to hyperfixate on healing because you think you're broken. I want you to fixate on your joy and address the blocks that arise to limit you from getting messy and relishing in your childlike play. I want you to fixate on liberation for your inner angsty teenager to show yourself the level of understanding that you needed. I want to talk about this type of healing because I want you to have an inventory of how you feel about your choices, your actions, your belief systems. I want to talk about this type of healing because I want you to have an inventory of how you feel about your choices, your actions, and your belief systems so that you are not operating from past failed experiments, so that you can trust your inner guidance. I want you to develop a relationship with every past self you've graced this world with because even when you look back and cringe, the choices you made were for a reason. And those reasons are valid. I want you to be able to move through life making conscious choices that serve your highest good, your future good, so that we are always working towards a better tomorrow, so that we are always working for tomorrow, so that we are here for tomorrow. It's editing me here. I realized I forgot to say something in my script. If I hadn't worked on my healing, I'm not sure where I would be. Healing is hard, it's uncomfortable, and it's necessary when you are feeling stuck on a path that wasn't meant for you. Healing is a wonderful thing, but it's not something to fixate and hyperthink on. It's meant to be felt. You're not healing your brain, you're healing your heart. And really, this episode is coming to a close. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and thank you so much for being with me. Really and truly, thank you for being here. Oh, I have to pause. I'm dying. Thank you so much for being here with me, and I hope you enjoyed today's topic. Please share your feedback with me on any of my social channels, and remember to subscribe. If you would like to support this show, you can buy me a coffee with the link in the description. With your tip, you get lifetime access to downloadable activity sheets and the warmth in your heart knowing that you're helping a small business. I also have a marketing course called Marketing Mastery, a self-study program. There's no group component, there's only 4.5 hours of content that you can do in your own time, and it's packed with info about using platforms like emails and YouTube to grow customer lists, and social media to drive traffic to your customer lists. I also have one-on-one marketing consulting services for creative businesses, and if you'd like to discuss how it can help you in your business further, please reach out to me via email. And if you have feedback about my show, please use my social channels. You can find all relevant links in the description below, and thanks again for being with me, and I do hope you come again. Cheers for now!